Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, watching the stars shift as they dropped out of hyperspace. The routine supply run to Kepler Mining Station was supposed to be simple. Load up the cargo hold with rare minerals, deliver medical supplies and food to the miners, then head back to Earth. Nothing exciting ever happened on these outer rim runs. The Defender was not an impressive ship by military standards. She was a frigate, smaller than most warships, built more for cargo than combat. Her hull was scarred from years of service, and her weapons were outdated by at least a decade. But she was reliable, and her crew of 127 had learned to trust her completely. Jake had been captain for 5 years now. He was 38 years old, with gray starting to show in his brown hair. The crew respected him because he never asked them to do anything he would not do himself. He treated everyone fairly, from the newest recruit to his senior officers. Chief Engineer Lisa Brooks called up from the engine room. Her voice crackled through the communication system. "Captain, we are running smooth. All systems are green. Should reach Kepler Station in about 20 minutes. "Thanks, Lisa," Jake replied. He could always count on her to keep the ship running. She had been with the Defender longer than anyone else, even longer than him. The crew often joked that she knew every bolt and wire on the ship personally. Weapons Officer Ryan Walsh sat at his station, monitoring the sensor displays. He was young, only 26, but he had excellent instincts. "Sir, I am picking up some strange readings ahead. Multiple contacts near the station." Jake frowned. Kepler Station was remote, sitting at the edge of human space. There should not be much traffic out here. "Can you get a clear reading on those contacts?" Ryan worked his console, trying to clean up the sensor data. "Negative, sir. Too much interference. Could be solar activity from the local star. We will have a better picture when we get closer." Medical Officer Dr. Amanda Price was making her rounds through the ship, checking on the crew. She was in her early 40s, with kind eyes and steady hands. The crew trusted her completely. When someone got hurt, she was always there to help. She had joined the crew 3 years ago after her husband died in a mining accident. The Defender had become her new family. Navigator Chris Parker was plotting their final approach to the station. He was quiet and methodical, the kind of person who double-checked everything. "Captain, I have our approach vector locked in. Nice and easy, just like always." The communications officer, Tracy Bell, was monitoring all frequencies for any messages from the station. She was new to the crew, only 6 months aboard, but she had already proven herself capable. "Sir, I am not picking up any routine transmissions from Kepler Station. That is unusual. They normally start talking to us when we are still an hour out." Jake felt a small chill run down his spine. Something was not right. "Tracy, try to raise them on the emergency frequency." She worked her controls, sending out a standard hailing message. Static filled the bridge speakers. She tried again, using a different frequency, more static. "Captain, I am getting nothing. Either their communications are down or what?" Jake asked, though he was starting to suspect the answer. "Or they cannot respond," Tracy finished quietly. The minutes crawled by as the Defender moved closer to Kepler Station. Ryan Walsh kept working his sensors, trying to get better readings on those mysterious contacts. Suddenly, his face went pale. "Captain, you need to see this." Jake moved to stand behind Ryan's station. The sensor display was finally clear enough to make sense of. What he saw made his blood run cold. 47 ships surrounded Kepler Station. They were larger than the Defender, sleek and predatory-looking. Their design was unlike anything in the human fleet database. "Aliens," Ryan whispered. Jake had heard rumors about first contact situations, but he had never expected to face one himself. The ships were clearly not human, and they were positioned in an attack formation around the mining station. "Tracy, get me a wideband transmission to those ships. Let them know we are here." Before Tracy could respond, her console lit up with an incoming message. The main screen flickered. then showed the face of an alien creature. It had gray skin, large black eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, its voice was cold and mechanical, translated by the universal communication protocols. Human. Vessel, you will surrender immediately. I am Fleet Commander Zex of the Zenthari Collective. Your species has been marked for processing. You will shut down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. Processing. That was what these things called enslaving entire populations. He had read the intelligence reports about the Zenthari. They swept through star systems, taking everything of value and turning the survivors into slaves. Commander Zex, Jake replied, keeping his voice steady. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Ship Defender. Those are human civilians on that station. Release them immediately and withdraw from this system. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. You command a single small warship. We have 47 vessels of the line. Your resistance is meaningless. Surrender now, and your death will be quick. Jake looked around his bridge. Every member of his crew was watching him, waiting for his decision. They all knew the odds. 1 damaged frigate against 47 alien warships. Any reasonable military. Commander would withdraw, call for reinforcements, maybe try to negotiate. But Jake thought about the miners on Kepler Station. Families lived there, children, people who had trusted Earth to protect them when they moved to the frontier. He thought about his own crew, good people who had signed up to serve humanity among the stars. The alien commander was still talking. You have 60 seconds to comply. After that, we will destroy your ship and take what we want from the wreckage. Jake keyed his communications, broadcasting on all frequencies so every ship in the area could hear him. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. Commander Zex, I have a message for you and your entire fleet. The alien leaned forward, probably expecting surrender terms. Come and take them, Jake said. The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in silence. Ryan Walsh was the first to speak. Captain, what are your orders? Jake Morrison looked at his crew, these people who had followed him this far and were ready to follow him into hell itself. Battle stations, all hands, this is the captain. We are going to show these aliens what happens when they threaten human civilians. Alarms began to sound throughout the ship as the crew rushed to their combat positions. The Defender turned toward the alien fleet, her weapons powering up. One small human ship against impossible odds. But sometimes, impossible was just another word for Tuesday in the human fleet. The first shots were about to be fired in what would become the most famous battle in human history. The first alien shots hit the Defender like hammers from hell. The ship shook violently as energy beams tore through her outer armor. Sparks flew from control panels across the bridge as the lights flickered and went dim. Emergency lighting cast, everything in a red glow that made the bridge look like a battlefield. Hull breach on Deck 7, Lisa Brooks reported from engineering, her voice tight with stress. We have lost primary power to the forward sections. I am trying to reroute through secondary systems. Captain Jake Morrison gripped his command chair as another salvo rocked the ship. Through the main screen, he could see the alien fleet moving into attack formation. Their ships were beautiful in a deadly way, sleek and silver like metal sharks swimming through space. Each one was twice the size of the Defender and packed with weapons that could slice through human armor like paper. Return fire, Jake ordered. All weapons, target the closest ship. Ryan Walsh worked his weapons console, fingers flying over the controls. The Defender's missiles launched in a spread pattern, racing toward the nearest Zenthari vessel. The alien ship's defensive systems activated, shooting down most of the missiles before they could hit. Only 2 made it through, leaving small scorch marks on the enemy hull. Minimal damage to target, Ryan reported, frustration clear in his voice. Their shields are stronger than our weapons. Another wave of alien fire hit the Defender. This time, the ship lurched so hard that several crew members were thrown from their seats. Navigator Chris Parker's console exploded in a shower of sparks and flames. He screamed once, then went silent. Dr. Amanda Price was on the bridge within seconds, but it was too late. Chris was gone. "We have lost navigation," Tracy Bell called out, tears streaming down her face. Chris had been her friend. They had played cards together just last night. "Helm control is offline." Jake felt the loss like a physical blow, but he could not stop to grieve. Not yet. "Tracy, take over navigation duties. Ryan, I need more firepower." "Sir, we are barely scratching their paint," Ryan replied. "Our weapons were not designed to fight ships this advanced." In the medical bay, Dr. Price was working frantically to save the wounded. The alien weapons did not just punch holes in the ship. They caused massive electrical feedback that fried systems and sent deadly power surges through the hull. Burns. And electrical injuries were flooding in faster than she could treat them. "I need more hands down here," she called over the communications system. "Anyone with basic medical training report to medical bay immediately." The ship's cook, Pete Mason, was one of the first to respond. He was a big man with gentle hands, perfect for helping Dr. Price move the wounded. The ship's librarian, Susan Wright, came too. Even the maintenance chief, Tony Garcia, left his damage control teams to help carry stretchers. Back on the bridge, Lisa Brooks was performing miracles in engineering. With primary power gone, she was running cables by hand to keep critical systems online. "Captain, I can give you maybe 10 more minutes of weapons power. After that, we will be running on battery backup only." Jake watched the tactical display. As more alien ships moved to surround them, the Zenthari were being careful, using their superior numbers to box in the human ship. They probably expected the defender to surrender any moment. Most species would have given up by now when faced with such overwhelming odds. "Sir," Ryan said quietly, "I have an idea. It is crazy, but it might work." "I am listening," Jake replied. "We have mining charges in the cargo hold, plasma explosives designed to crack asteroids. If I can modify our torpedo warheads with those charges, we might be able to punch through their shields." Jake nodded. "Do it. Lisa, can you spare some people to help Ryan?" "Already on it," Lisa's voice came back. "Sending my best ordnance people to the weapons bay." The defender continued to take hits as the crew worked desperately to modify their weapons. Each alien shot did more damage, and the ship was starting to come apart. Atmosphere was leaking from multiple hull breaches. Emergency force fields were the only thing keeping the crew from being sucked into space. "Captain," Tracy called out, "I am picking up transmissions between the alien ships. They are saying something about human tactical patterns being predictable." Jake felt a grim smile cross his face. Predictable. The aliens had studied human military doctrine, but they had made one critical mistake. They had only looked at fleet engagements, formal battles between large forces. They had never seen what happened when a human ship was cornered and fighting for survival. "Tracy, patch me through to all sections of the ship," Jake ordered. Her fingers worked the communications controls. "You are on ship-wide, sir." Jake took a deep breath. "All hands, this is the captain. I know things look bad right now. We are outnumbered, outgunned, and our ship is coming apart around us. The aliens think they have us figured out. They think we will follow their rules of engagement." He paused as another hit shook the ship. "But they have never fought humans who refuse to quit. They have never seen what we can do when we are protecting our people. We are not going to surrender. We are not going to run. We are going to show these aliens that humanity does not back down from bullies." Across the ship, the crew responded to their captain's words. In engineering, Lisa Brooks pushed her teams harder, finding power where none should exist. In the weapons bay, Ryan Walsh and his people worked with desperate efficiency to modify the torpedo warheads. In medical, Dr. Price continued to save lives even as the ship shook around her. The first modified torpedo launched 10 minutes later. Ryan had packed it with enough mining charges to level a small mountain. The alien ship it was aimed at tried to shoot it down, but the explosion was too big for their defensive systems to handle completely. The blast tore through their shields and punched a hole in their hull. "Direct hit!" Ryan shouted. "Their shields are down!" The alien fleet commander must have been surprised. His ships began changing formation, no longer treating the human vessel as a minor threat. But Jake was already planning his next move. If the aliens wanted to see unpredictable human tactics, he was ready to show them exactly what that meant. The real fight was just beginning. The alien ships began moving differently after the first Zenthari vessel took damage. Captain Jake Morrison watched the tactical display as their neat formation broke apart. They were no longer treating the defender as easy prey. Good. When the enemy started taking you seriously, it meant you were doing something right. "Tracy, are you still intercepting their communications?" Jake asked. Communications Officer Tracy Bell nodded, her fingers working to decode the alien signals. "Yes, sir. They are confused about our tactics. Their fleet commander is asking his subordinates why we are not following standard engagement protocols." Jake almost laughed. Standard protocols. The aliens had studied human military textbooks, but textbooks could not teach them about human stubbornness. They could not explain what happened when people fought for their families and their homes. "Captain," Lisa Brooks called from engineering, "I have an idea. Our sensors are picking up a large asteroid field about 2 million kilometers from here. If we can draw some of their ships into that field, we might be able to use the rocks as cover." Ryan Walsh looked up from his weapons station. The asteroids would also interfere with their targeting systems. Those big ships are not built for close maneuvering. Jake studied the tactical display. The asteroid field was dense, filled with spinning rocks the size of buildings. It would be dangerous for any ship to enter, but the defender was smaller and more agile than the alien vessels. "Tracy, can you make our communications look like we are calling for backup from that direction?" Tracy's eyes lit up with understanding. "You want to fake a distress call to make them think human reinforcements are coming through the asteroid field?" "Exactly. Make it look like we are desperate and trying to reach our rescue fleet." Tracy began working on a false communication signal. She made it sound panicked and urgent, exactly what the aliens would expect from a defeated human ship. The message claimed that a human battle group was approaching through the asteroid field, and the defender was trying to reach them. The alien fleet commander took the bait. Jake watched as 12 Zenthari ships broke off from the main group and headed toward the asteroid field. They wanted to intercept the imaginary human reinforcements before they could join the battle. "Now we follow them," Jake ordered. "Lisa, give me everything the engines have left." The defender limped after the alien ships, trailing atmosphere and debris. To the aliens, it looked like a desperate attempt to escape. They had no idea they were being led into a trap. The asteroid field was even more dangerous than Jake had expected. Massive rocks tumbled through space, colliding with each other and breaking apart. The gravity from the nearby planet pulled the debris into chaotic orbits that changed constantly. It was like flying through a three-dimensional minefield that never stopped moving. The alien ships entered the field cautiously. Their large hulls made them clumsy among the spinning rocks. Jake watched as one Zenthari vessel scraped against an asteroid, leaving a bright scar along its hull. "Now," Jake whispered, Ryan Walsh had been waiting for this moment. He fired every modified torpedo the defender had left, but not at the alien ships. Instead, he targeted the largest asteroids near the enemy vessels. The mining charges exploded, with tremendous force, shattering the rocks into thousands of high-speed fragments. The alien ships found themselves caught in a deadly storm of stone and metal. Their shields flared as debris hammered their hulls. One ship lost its main engines when a chunk of asteroid punched through its armor. Another vessel spun out of control as its navigation systems were damaged by the flying rocks. Direct hit. "On 2 targets," Ryan reported with satisfaction. 3 more ships have significant damage. But the aliens were learning. The remaining ships began working together, using their combined firepower to clear paths through the debris field. They were adapting to human tactics faster than Jake had hoped. "Captain," Tracy called out urgently, "I am picking up new transmissions. The aliens are calling this a human ambush technique. They are warning the rest of their fleet about our deception tactics." Jake frowned. The aliens were smart. They would not fall for the same trick twice. But humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. They had developed more tricks than any alien species could imagine. "Lisa, can you make our engines look like they are failing?" Jake asked. "Sir," Lisa replied, "our engines really are failing. I am holding them together with spare parts and prayer." "Perfect. Tracy, start broadcasting emergency signals. Make it sound like we are losing life support." While Tracy sent out fake distress calls, Ryan Walsh was working on a new plan. The ship's cook, Pete Mason, had brought him something interesting. From the galley. Chemical compounds used for food preservation could be mixed with engine coolant to create a dense cloud that would confuse alien sensors. "Captain, I can create a false sensor signature," Ryan explained. "If I vent these chemicals, from our cargo bays it will look like we have multiple ships hiding in the gas cloud." Jake nodded approvingly. "Do it. Make them think a whole human squadron just arrived." The Defender began venting the chemical mixture into space. The cloud spread quickly, creating a dense fog that blocked sensors and visual observation. Ryan then used the ship's communications array to broadcast fake engine signatures from different points in the cloud. To the alien sensors, it looked like 6 human ships had suddenly appeared in the asteroid field. The Zenthari vessels found themselves facing what seemed to be a coordinated human attack from multiple directions. "Sir," Tracy reported with excitement, "the alien ships are requesting immediate backup. They think they have stumbled into a human trap with superior numbers." The psychological effect was exactly what Jake had hoped for. The aliens had expected to face one damaged human ship. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that used tricks and tactics they had never encountered. Each human victory, no matter how small, made the aliens more cautious and more afraid. "Captain," Ryan called out, "I have one more idea. It is completely insane." Jake turned to look at his weapons officer. "Insane is what we do best. What do you have in mind?" Ryan pointed at the tactical display, where the alien flagship sat in the center of the main fleet. "What if we ram them?" The bridge went silent. Everyone stared at Ryan like he had lost his mind. Ramming an enemy ship was suicide, especially when that ship was 3 times larger than your own. But Jake Morrison had learned something important during this battle. Sometimes the craziest plan was the one that worked, because the enemy would never see it coming. Captain Jake Morrison stared at Ryan Walsh for a long moment. Ramming the alien flagship was suicide, but it might be the kind of suicide that saved everyone else. The aliens had never faced an enemy willing to sacrifice everything for victory. Maybe it was time to show them what human determination really meant. "Ryan, explain your plan," Jake said quietly. Ryan brought up a tactical display showing the alien formation. "Sir, their flagship is in the center of their fleet. If we can take it out, their command structure will collapse. But we cannot get close enough with conventional weapons." "So we become the weapon," Jake finished. "Use the ship itself as a missile." The bridge crew listened as Ryan outlined his plan. The Defender would make a suicide run straight at the flagship. At the last second, they would use the gravitational pull of nearby asteroids to slingshot around the enemy ship while firing everything they had. If they timed it perfectly, they might survive. If not, they would take the alien commander with them. "It is completely insane," Tracy Bell said softly. "Yes," Jake agreed. "That is why it might work. The aliens expect us to be logical. They cannot understand enemies who are willing to die for strangers." Lisa Brooks spoke up from engineering. "Captain, I can give you one last burst of power from the engines. After that, we will be running on momentum only." Jake looked around. The bridge at his crew. These people had followed him this far. They deserved to know what he was asking of them. Everyone listen carefully. This is a volunteer mission. Anyone who wants to leave the bridge can go to the escape pods now. No one will think less of you. Not a single person moved. Tracy Bell wiped tears from her eyes but stayed at her station. Ryan Walsh checked his weapons one more time. Even the youngest crew members stood firm. They were all terrified, but they were not leaving. "All right then," Jake said. "Tracy, open a channel to the entire ship." Tracy's fingers were shaking as she worked the communications controls. "You are on ship-wide, sir." Jake took a deep breath. "All hands, this is the captain. We are about to attempt something that has never been tried before. We are going to ram the alien flagship. I know it sounds like suicide, and maybe it is. But those aliens think they understand humans. They think we will surrender when the odds get too bad." He paused as another alien shot shook the ship. "They are wrong. We do not surrender. We do not quit. We do not abandon our people. If we are going to die today, we are going to die fighting. And maybe, just maybe, we are going to live through this and go home to tell everyone about the day 47 alien ships ran away from one human crew." Across the ship, the crew responded to their captain's words. In engineering, Lisa Brooks pushed her damaged systems beyond their limits. In the medical bay, Dr. Amanda Price strapped down everything that could move and prepared for the impact. In the cargo hold, Pete Mason and the other support crew made sure nothing would break loose during the ramming run. The Defender turned toward the alien flagship. The massive Zenthari vessel sat in the center of their formation like a metal mountain floating in space. It was beautiful and terrible, covered with weapons that could destroy a planet. But it had one weakness. The aliens inside had never fought humans before. "Lisa, I need maximum power to the engines," Jake ordered. "You have it, Captain. Engines are at 120%. They will not last long at this level." The Defender began accelerating toward the enemy fleet. The alien ships immediately opened fire, sending streams of energy beams toward the small human vessel. Jake watched the shots getting closer as the ship raced through space. "Evasive maneuvers," he called out. Tracy Bell, now acting as navigator, sent the ship into a wild pattern of loops and turns. She had learned the controls by watching Chris Parker, and she was doing her best to honor his memory. The alien shots missed by smaller and smaller margins as the Defender weaved through the deadly crossfire. 30 seconds to ramming speed, Ryan announced. Jake could see the alien flagship growing larger on the main screen. The ship was huge, easily 5 times the size of the Defender. Its hull bristled with weapons and armor that made it look like a mechanical fortress. But size did not matter if you could not hit your target. "Sir," Tracy called out, "I am picking up transmissions from the alien fleet. They are calling us." Insane. They cannot believe we are actually trying to ram their flagship. Jake smiled grimly. "Let them think we are crazy. Crazy humans are the most dangerous kind." The gravity from the nearby asteroids began pulling at the Defender as it approached the alien flagship. Ryan had calculated this perfectly. At exactly the right moment, they would use that gravitational pull to whip around the enemy ship while firing every weapon they had. 10 seconds, Ryan announced. "All weapons armed and ready." Jake gripped his command chair as the alien flagship filled the entire main screen. He could see individual details on the enemy hull, weapon ports and sensor arrays that looked like alien eyes staring back at them. The massive ship was turning, trying to bring its main guns to bear on the approaching human vessel. 5 seconds, Ryan called out. "All hands, brace for impact," Jake ordered. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, mark. Ryan fired everything the Defender had left. Modified torpedoes, plasma cannons, even the mining charges from the cargo hold. At the same time, Tracy executed the gravity slingshot maneuver that would either save them or kill them all. The Defender whipped around the alien flagship so close that the two hulls almost touched. Every weapon hit the enemy ship at point blank range, punching through armor that was supposed to be invulnerable. The alien flagship staggered under the impact, flames and atmosphere pouring from massive holes in its hull. The Defender completed its slingshot and shot away from the damaged flagship. The ship had survived the impossible ramming run, but Jake knew the real test was just beginning. Now they would find out if destroying the command ship would break the aliens' will to fight. The answer came faster than he expected. The alien flagship was dying. Captain Jake Morrison watched through the main screen as atmosphere and debris poured from the massive holes the Defender had punched in its hull. The great ship that had seemed so invincible just moments before was now listing to one side, its lights flickering as internal systems failed. "Direct hits on the command section," Ryan Walsh reported with amazement in his voice. "Their flagship is crippled, sir." Tracy Bell was monitoring alien communications, and what she heard made her eyes go wide. "Captain, the alien fleet is in chaos. Without their flagship, their individual ship commanders do not know what to do. They are asking each other for orders, but no one is giving them." Jake felt a spark of hope for the first time since the battle began. The aliens had built their entire fleet around centralized command. Take out the leader, and the rest did not know how to function. It was a critical weakness that humans had learned to avoid centuries ago. "Sir," Tracy continued, "I am also picking up long-range sensor contacts, multiple ships approaching from the outer system." Jake's heart sank. More alien reinforcements would finish what was left of his damaged ship. But then Tracy's face lit up with excitement. "Captain, those are human ships. Civilian freighters responding to our distress call." Jake almost laughed with relief. The merchant vessels that supplied the outer colonies were tough ships with brave crews. But they were not warships. Still, the aliens did not know that. To their sensors, it would look like human military reinforcements arriving just when the flagship had been destroyed. "How many ships?" Jake asked. 12 contacts, sir. Various sizes. They will be here in 20 minutes. The psychological impact on the alien fleet was immediate. Through the communications intercepts, Jake could hear fear creeping into the alien voices. They had come to this system expecting to face helpless human civilians. Instead, they had encountered a single human warship that refused to surrender, used tactics they had never seen before, and somehow destroyed their flagship. Now, more human ships were arriving, and the aliens had no idea what to expect. For all they knew, these new vessels might be carrying the same insane humans who turned mining charges into weapons and used ramming attacks against superior forces. "Captain," Dr. Amanda Price called from the medical bay, "I have wounded down here who need immediate attention. How much longer will this battle last?" Jake looked around his battered bridge. The Defender was barely holding together. Half the crew was wounded, and the ship was running on backup power. They had given everything they had, and somehow it had been enough. "Tracy, open a channel to the alien fleet," Jake ordered. Tracy worked her damaged console. "Channel open, sir." Jake stood up slowly, feeling every bruise and cut from the battle. When he spoke, his voice was calm and steady. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Ship Defender. Your flagship is destroyed. Your fleet is surrounded. You have exactly 5 minutes to withdraw from this system before my reinforcements arrive." The response came quickly from one of the alien ships. A new voice, younger and more nervous than the original fleet commander. "Human captain, you have only one damaged ship. We still outnumber you." Jake smiled grimly. "That one damaged ship just destroyed your flagship and sent 12 of your vessels running away. Do you really want to find out what my fresh ships can do when they get here?" He was bluffing, but the aliens did not know that. All they knew was that everything they had been told about humans was wrong. They were supposed to be a weak species that surrendered when faced with superior force. Instead, they had encountered enemies who fought harder when the odds got worse. "Furthermore," Jake continued, "this entire battle has been recorded and transmitted to Earth. Every human fleet in this sector now knows your ship configurations, your weapons, and your tactics. But more importantly, they know that you can be beaten. This was the crucial moment. Jake was gambling that the aliens valued their lives more than their mission. Most intelligent species were logical. They retreated when victory became impossible. Only humans were stupid enough to fight hopeless battles for abstract concepts like honor and duty. The silence stretched for nearly a minute. Then the new alien, Commander, spoke again. "Human Captain, we will withdraw, but this is not over. The Zenthari Collective will return with greater numbers." "Maybe," Jake replied. "But when you do, we will be ready. And next time, you will be facing more than one ship." The first alien vessel began turning away from Kepler Station. Then another. Within minutes, the entire Zenthari fleet was moving toward the edge of the system. 47 ships that had seemed invincible just hours ago were retreating from a single battered human frigate. "They are jumping to hyperspace," Tracy reported with wonder in her voice. "All contacts leaving the system." Jake slumped back into his command chair as the adrenaline finally wore off. They had done it. Somehow, impossibly, they had won. "Lisa, damage report," he called to engineering. "Sir, we are in bad shape," Lisa Brooks replied. "Hull breaches on 6 decks, main engines offline, weapons systems destroyed. But we are alive, and the ship will hold together long enough to get home." Dr. Price's voice came over the communications system. "Captain, I need you in medical bay. You have been bleeding for the past hour and did not notice." Jake looked down and realized she was right. His uniform was soaked with blood from shrapnel wounds he had ignored during the battle. "On my way, Doctor." As he walked through the damaged corridors of his ship, Jake saw his crew working to repair the damage and help the wounded. They had been through hell together, but they had not broken. The kid from the engine room, the cook who had helped modify weapons, the communications officer who had taken over navigation when Chris died. They were heroes, every one of them. The merchant ships arrived an hour later to find the Defender, limping toward Kepler Station. The miners were safe, rescued from the alien processing centers before they could be shipped off to slavery. The story of the battle was already spreading across human space, carried by the same communication networks the aliens had tried to disrupt. Within days, every human in the galaxy would know that a single damaged ship had faced impossible odds, and won. They would know that Captain Jake Morrison had looked at 47 alien warships and said, "Come and take them." They would know that humanity did not surrender, did not quit, and did not abandon their own. The UES Defender made it, home 3 weeks later. The ship was retired with honors, and her crew became legends. But more importantly, the galaxy had learned something new about humans. They were not the weak species that everyone expected. They were something far more dangerous. They were the species that refused to lose.